you go to a bar and you get a beer poured, where does it come from?
Well, traditionally it comes from a keg.
How does a keg work?
This is a standard American-style keg. It's full of beer already. The beer is carbonated and cold and under pressure inside this keg. What we have right here is a standard hand pump or picnic tap.
I am familiar with this device.
We take this little tapping apparatus, rotate it all the way until it's locked.
Okay. What's the pump doing? And why does it make the beer come out?
The pump basically is what you're going to use to force pressure, air pressure in this case, into the keg to actually physically push the beer out. There's a stem going all the way down to the bottom.
All right.
The air pressure on top inside the keg pushes the beer up through that stem and out through this hose.
Okay. As soon as you tap a keg, it seems like it's always super foamy. Why?
Well, it's because you're releasing all of the pressure. You're creating a pressure differential, which makes the gas want to come out of solution.
That creates the foam.
That creates foam, exactly, or the head on a beer.
So what's the foam? Well, as you pour a beer, carbon dioxide bubbles rise to the surface. The ascending gas captures protein molecules that stiffen the bubbles. Voila! Beer head! So, protein-heavy wheat beers tend to produce larger and longer-lasting heads than barley.
You don't want to put too much pressure because then whenever it comes out all at once, too much of the air comes out.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, that's a good tip next time you're tapping a keg.
Now, a bartender doesn't need to pump the keg because they use a gas tap. So when they pull the handle, carbon dioxide rushes out of a gas tank and into the keg, pushing the beer out and into your glass. In the long history of beer, the keg is a recent innovation, appearing on the pub scene in the early 20th century. Up until that point, most beer came from a wooden cask.
Casks are pretty interesting because there's no mechanical apparatus inside them at all. It's just an empty barrel with two plugs in it, a keystone and a shive. You'll actually want to tap it because you want to get at that beer, which is hammered in with a mallet.
All right, and then we just let gravity do the rest of the work.
Exactly.
Beer was poured directly from the cask until 1785, the year the beer engine was invented.
So this is the beer engine.
Exactly. This is where rubber meets road.
Okay.
Underneath the bar, inside the engine, is a vacuum cylinder.
Okay.
Every time we pull the handle forward, that cylinder sucks some of the beer out from our cask, which is tapped in the other room.
Okay, so I just grab this.
Pull that right up underneath. Pull that all the way forward.
This is just mechanically pulling the liquid out of the cask.
Right. It's a very simple process. Minute to settle, and then one more pull to top it up.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
And cheers.
Now, your beer education would be incomplete without a lesson on how to pour that perfect pint. A skill that's both an art and a science. Initially, tilt the glass at 45 degrees. This increases the surface area of the beer, allowing carbon dioxide to escape quicker, preventing too much foam. Once the beer reaches 2/3 full, tilt it upright. This releases the aromas and brings a nice frothy head. And there you have it, a perfect pour. But before you celebrate your beer diploma, you need to pass your final exam. It's time to play Myth or Fact with our beer experts.
All right, myth or fact? A green bottle prevents skunking.
Skunking is basically beer being broken down by UV rays or sunlight.
It's hop-derived compounds called isohumulones. And they literally get shredded by the ultraviolet light. And I believe they attach themselves onto sulfur atoms, and they create the same compound found in skunk spray.
Basically, your beer is smelly. Green bottles, brown bottles, clear bottles. Typically, you have certain levels of protection with each one, but if the sun gets to it, it's going to skunk the beer regardless.
Myth or fact? A bottle is better than a can.
Historically, people They do believe that cans are kind of low class.
When cans first came out, there was no liner, so you were getting that metallic flavor. All cans have a liner now. Liner is just a plastic lining between the aluminum and the beer to protect the beer.
A can can often be better than a bottle. It does have some benefits.
Cans are perfect. No skunking. They're quicker to cool. And actually, a lot of craft brewers are starting to can now, which is great. So we're getting different options with cans.
Myth or fact? If you warm up a beer and then refrigerate it, it's going to get ruined.
A lot of the beer that you get at a store is bought on the shelf. That's warm. You take it home, you chill it down, and it tastes pretty good.
It really comes to extremes. If you're talking about higher temperatures,
and like you leave that 6-pack in the back of your car, you go somewhere else, it's like 115 degrees.
The chemical reaction is sped up.
Inside the bottle, the molecules are just breaking apart. Forget about putting it in the refrigerator after that. It's pretty much cooked.
Myth or fact? Beer causes beer bellies.
It's basically your intake and what you're going to burn in calories in any given day.
Anything you eat can cause a so-called beer belly.
So if you're going to drink a 12-pack, of course you're going to get a belly. You eat a pound of steak every day, you're going to get a steak belly. I mean,
yeah, steak belly, yeah. No, beer doesn't cause a beer belly.
That's a myth. It's a total myth.
Myth or fact? In England, they drink their beer warm.
If you came over from the U.S. and you're used to drinking ice-cold lagers, and then you go over there and visit some pub and you ask for a cask-conditioned ale.
They tend to serve that at cellar temperature, which is around 50, 55 degrees.
You could perceive that as warm, but others perceive that as cool. And if you have a warm beer, you know it's a warm beer. No, in England, beer is not served warm.
Okay, I can finally put my finger on why beer is the most popular beverage on Earth. One word: versatility. Because whether as a tasty beverage, or food, as a social lubricant, or an advertisement, as a hobby, or business, or just to unwind, beer is everywhere.
There's more to this glass of beer than you'd ever guess.